Welcome to the Paragenius Podcast, real talk, real life, and a little bit of genius. We're Alex and Kati, partners in life for over 30 years. On this podcast, we dive into honest and filtered discussions with incredible people sharing stories, insights, and lessons that help you think bigger, live bolder, and grow stronger. No fluff, no filters, just real conversations that challenge, inspire, and elevate. Let's get into it. Welcome to another edition of the Paragenius Podcast. And we're super excited to have Dorian with us today. And instead of reading off her bio, we would like to get her to introduce herself, and not just job title, but who you are in your core. And also something new. What is something that people should know about you, but often they do not? So your core and the thing that you would like people to know about you. No pressure.
I can be a very quiet, withdrawn person, but when I need to, let's just say I may surprise what comes out. When I'm being professional at work, it's professional Dorian. But when I am out, I can be withdrawn. But if I need to pounce, I'm pouncing. So it doesn't happen very often. The North End in me can come out at me at times. And for those of you who aren't familiar with Winnipeg, the North End is associated with a tough neighborhood, basically. And sometimes you just don't expect it.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
Maybe it could also get me in trouble too.
Please.
No.
You're so perfectly put together. You're so lovely. All of a sudden that you can bounce with the Winnipeg North End energy. Holy shit.
Yeah, I've had to drop a few F-bombs at work, but only when it's completely necessary. Yeah.
I kind of pictured you with somebody on a sports therapy table, and then you putting the block of wood in between their legs as they're tied down, and then just hitting the ankle with the hammer. And they're
Well, I'm not doing the athletic therapy so much anymore because I now work in orthopedics.
Okay.
When I was getting my degree at the University of Winnipeg, we basically had how can I explain it? We had a little joke basically that if we weren't inflicting pain, we were not doing our jobs properly.
Oh my God.
Because just that is what we're doing. We're breaking down scar tissue. We're breaking down like myofascial tissue to help encourage proper healing. So the only way to do that is just to break you down till you can't do it anymore. And then the goal is to heal you. But I don't do that anymore. So I do have to be a little nicer to my patient.
I feel that's kind of the common theme of us Gen Xers. The more broken some of us are, the ones that are willing to do the work. And I think that's part of the podcast journey is we're doing the work of kind of putting the pieces back together, and we come out way better.
Yeah, that's fair. I can get that.
Yeah. There's a good amount of healing that has to happen. So every time we have a conversation with someone, it's, oh yeah, you said that just for me so I can heal that little dark spot in me.
Well, from listening to your podcast since you guys started, you guys definitely do the more spiritual, emotional, all of that healing, where my background and my experience is the physical healing. And of course, you can't have one without the other, really. It's all intertwined.
It's true because there is an element of suffering that happens, right?
Oh,
So
absolutely.
when you're in pain, you're suffering. And when you're suffering, you really have to go very deep inward to kind of think, how am I going to get through this? What can I shift inside of me to work with the person who's physically working on me so that I can heal properly?
And there's a lot of trust that needs to be there. Yeah. And I know I didn't really get into it, but what I do now is I work in orthopedics. I work with a sport medicine clinic, and I basically apply the braces that people need to help heal their injury. So a lot of people come to me after seeing the doctor. They're confused. They don't really know what's going on. Depending on the doctor, maybe they didn't fully explain it. So my job is not only slapping the device on them, but it's also helping them learn what is going on in their body And I really find that once they understand the mechanism by which not only the injury occurred, but the device that I'm applying onto them, what that's doing to help them in their journey. So I'd really find that communicating with them on that level aids in patient compliance. And once they understand, then they're going to do as they're supposed to lead to healing.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's interesting how, I don't know, I've had a couple of injuries, not horrific ones, but it's amazing how it takes a psychological toll on you as well. And like you said earlier, it's really important to trust the person that you're going to see. That's
100%.
a huge gift that you're giving someone, that have that kindness, and for them to trust you and the process to help get them back to where they want to be. Because it's scary. You don't want to get hurt again. You don't want to get injured again. You can't always control everything, but it's so important to have people that you can trust and count on in the healing process. Because I think that if that trust isn't there, then it'll actually hinder your healing as well.
100%. 100%. I have people coming to me so frustrated because maybe this has been a journey for them to get to that final diagnosis. And when they come to me broken and confused, sometimes I'm spending 30 minutes, 40 minutes because they need to almost unload all this information on me as to what their journey was to lead them to me. And then once we can establish that relationship, and then I finally get to my job to fitting the device for the patient, then it really helps them not only bring in calm into their body, but then it's the trust. So when I'm explaining to them, you have to use this for X amount of time for this reason, then they get it. Right. And then they leave there with more information that maybe they didn't get from their physician. And yeah, I get really great feedback from my patients just by us taking that approach. And I say us because I have a team of 10 employees between my two locations that I've taught them to take this approach. So we get lots of repeat customers and people coming back and telling us that they've really felt at ease with us and they're appreciative because maybe they felt their concerns weren't being heard elsewhere.
Yeah, if you think about when you go and see a doctor, how much information are you able to get out in this little amount of, because they're only seeing you for a very short amount of time.
Yes.
It's here's what's wrong with you, here's how we're going to fix you, and adios. Right?
Pretty
And
much.
they send you on your way. And then to
Yeah.
have that person like you who comes in with the piece that's going to help them, it's like, oh, all of a sudden I don't feel so alone. Because healing alone is much slower than healing with somebody else.
100%. 100%. And it's a lot of energy that is needed to heal an injury. Because if you're an athlete, or even if you're just a rec league curler, what I mean, if you can't do the thing that you love that gives you that physical, emotional relief, social ability, and that gets taken away, that can really be damaging on somebody. To not have that community, even if it's for a period of time, it can still be a struggle for a lot of people.
It's so funny that you said curler because only a Manitoban would ever say curler. I love it.
Proud Manitoban.
Dem, I just want to do the splits on the ice, fling a rock.
Yeah.
I've done curling since we left Manitoba, but it was fun.
I tried it for one season, I think when I was 17, and I've never done it again.
Oh, no?
It's so hard. It's not as easy as they make
is.
it look on TV.
Yeah, I literally, the very first time I threw a raw starfish on the ice, and it was not good. It was not good. Thank God I was young and limber. I didn't really hurt myself, but if I was to do that now, who knows?
Right? Oh my God.
Curling really should be the Canadian national sport.
I think so. But I mean,
No argument here.
It really does hurt me when I think it was like the American dads won the last gold medal at the Olympics. They had these mustaches and these big guts, and they came out and this is not happening. I think they won, It drove me crazy because it's Canada's game and the
It's Canada's
stole
game.
it.
Oh, well.
What I did, the very first thing I did, I kicked a damn rock. I kicked the curling rock. And
You're not
My-
supposed to do that.
my toe turned blue, and it was
Well, I guess.
blue for a year. Do you know how long it takes for a bruise to grow out of your toenail?
I know. It's crazy.
It's
You're lucky you
crazy.
didn't lose your toenail.
Right? Every time I looked down, I was
Mhm.
like, oh, geez, I'm stupid.
Well, if you're kicking rocks, you have to wonder what was going up there that led you to that.
It was
You're wild.
Sure.
I'm wild. I'm a wild lady. So I have to mention, Dorian and I go way back. We go way back.
Yeah.
It's crazy because Emma is now the age that I knew you. Ollie, that is so bananas to me. I met you in grade 7.
Yeah.
Catholic girls' school,
Girls' school.
which I can't wait to dive into. This is the
Right.
reason that I've lured you into my trap, Dorian.
I don't know if you can see, but it is that's my ring, right? So it's my mother's ring because she went there, and then she gave it to me
Oh my
when I
God.
went there. However, it was
So-
at the Super Sixer.
So this is the funny thing. My mom did not go to St. Mary's, but my aunt did. So my dad's sister. I don't know about this story, Kati, but it's really funny. So I was always the withdrawn, quiet, good girl at St. Mary's. My aunt was not. She was the one who got chronically suspended, detention, found smoking on the grounds and everything. Oh my God, I'm losing my headphones here. So my maiden name is not a common last name at all, and very Polish. So when I started at St. Mary's, I don't know if you remember, Kati, but Sister Susan, who was the principal at the time, would go from class to class introducing herself. And she got to my class because we were in different classes in grade 7. So she's going through the attendance list, and she gets to mine, which is near the bottom because my last name starts with a T. And she goes, Krasinski, are you related to Teresa Krasinski? And I said, yeah, that's my aunt. She goes, I'll be seeing a lot of you then.
Yeah. Not college material.
What a great first day. I came from the North End. I didn't know anybody at this school. And the very first day, the pigeonholed me for being derelict.
Right?
Like-
Amazing, because
Come on.
there was the perfect student. Never did anything, read all the books in the library.
So she says.
Never. No, apparently liked my mother. And then I get there, and I was just this little rat from North Kildonan, and I struggled, like, academically. That was a really hard school for me. I could not keep
It's
up.
hard.
Was not used to it. And then you throw in the religion and the nuns, and there was some mean girls.
Yes, there were. No,
So
me
this
too,
is where the movie
sweetie.
Mean Girls comes from, Catholic girls' school, right?
It was
I
rough.
would not be surprised. It was hard, especially going in there knowing not a soul. Not a soul. It was hard.
Yep, that was tough.
And-
I wouldn't
Yeah.
go back for $1 million.
There's like
God.
a class war in private school.
A class war. Oh,
You know,
like with
The rich kids versus who the hell are you guys?
I was treated pretty badly because I didn't know how to dress myself or do my hair. I didn't have access to makeup.
No, I'm miserable because I really did feel that there were the pre-established cliques. Because you had your group from Tuxedo, you had your group from South End, and all this that already knew each other, and all the groups were established. So coming in, not knowing a soul, and then having that non-principal freaky like did.
Not very
I went
approachable at all.
home. Well, I'm telling the story 33 years later. It was that traumatizing to pigeonhole me just because I'm related to this person. But yeah, no, it was hard. And it was a while before you and I, Kati, managed to connect and become friends. And then we had our own little group over a period of time. But those first few months, I was just miserable the whole time.
Oh yes, I was quite sad there.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
a homebody, and from North Kildonan to River Heights is a very long bus ride.
Oh my gosh. I always left home. I had a ride in the morning, but I was being dropped off at 7 in the morning. That's my mom went to work.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, it was the bus rides home that were like an hour long. Had to transfer downtown Winnipeg, and doing that as a 12-year-old.
Yeah.
I wouldn't allow my children to do that now.
I have a question for both of you, and I've never asked this question before, but at what point in the day were the tickle fights and the lingerie things that all us boys wish that was happening at like
Exactly.
Catholic
You
schools?
wished.
Yeah.
You wished.
When were these things happening? Because in my mind, it was basically like Porky's, except for
That's basically when it happened in your mind.
Yeah, that's exactly true.
damn it. And here's
No,
what the
sorry.
episode is going to get spicy. See you later,
Mm.
everybody.
So, well, not here, not in this period of the podcast,
Right.
but yeah,
I mean,
no.
the closest, like the most interaction we had was probably when they were, I forget who, if it was Andrea who was telling us about if you cross your arms over your chest like this and someone pushes on you, you'll pass out. So we were doing that in the bathroom. And sure enough, here we are all passing out left.
Well, nothing to do to pass the time.
Oh. See, this was
God.
before jiu-jitsu.
Great.
You guys
Oh,
all
go
cracking
ahead.
your heads on the sinks.
Yeah, we survived.
Looking back, I'm trying to think, what was the point of that chapter? Because it was 3 years for me at St. Mary's. Why did I have to go through that?
To appreciate getting out of it.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
No. Oh, yeah, that
Pants
is
on.
mine.
Put
Yeah.
some pants.
Kati just saw you. She said hi. Okay. But yeah, no, I did the full stick.
you
Mostly because I was not given a choice by my parents. But it was fine. I made more friends throughout the years and it got better.
Right.
Do you guys, well, I mean, you went to, do you ever wish that you would have had a chance at public school? You would have with me?
And
Or
yeah.
would you do all-girls school again?
Well, honestly, the all-girls school was not my choice. And I'm not going to lie, even for the entry, I tried to, but I think they saw me as a charity case. Oh, this poor dumb kid from the North End, let's give her a chance. Or maybe their enrollment was low that year, who knows? But no, I did not want to go at all. I wanted to do the public school experience because that's where all my friends were. And even as I continued through my years at St. Mary's, I was still hanging out with those friends and had more friends that went to Edgerman RC and Sister High School. And even though I wasn't there, I still hung out with those people. So I didn't really hang out with a lot of people from St. Mary's when I was going there. Kati was one of the few, Stacey, like that group there. And then as I continued, made other closer friends, Lori, Shanti, and I still like they're my favorite people to this day, and they're in my wedding party. So no, I'm still very thankful for the relationships that I built there, but that's really all I brought from there.
I was going to say, because people have this misconception that if you go to a private school like that, that you have more opportunity to have high profile jobs and make tons of money. And I'm wondering how much of that is actually true.
I really don't know. There's probably more opportunity to hook up with St. Paul's dude. Pretty perhaps. Yeah, but
Spoiler alert, they're all gay.
no.
You're right, in a Catholic school? I think not.
No, right? So no, but still have to follow the Manitoba curriculum, right? The students still have to do the provincial exams that the other schools have to do. It was just a more controlled environment. And you had that interjection of religion there. And that wasn't me either. I am not a deeply religious person. I have a lot of skeletons in my closet from my younger years with my brother passing away and everything that kind of happened after that. I really do not connect spiritually, at least on that Catholic level that I was brought up by. So to be in a Catholic school, I was almost numb to it.
I think
And it was something that was,
you.
oh, for sure. And it's something you remember, it's just shoved down your throat. You're missing classes because it's Easter and you have to do church service in the theater. But I just, I don't know, grit my teeth and bared it just to get through it. And then after we graduated, I didn't look back. I, I think I showed up once because a teacher close, not like friend, but he was my favorite teacher, had asked me after I was already doing my orthopedics and everything. He asked me to come back and be a judge for a science fair. That was my first time walking into that school since graduation. And I didn't go back until my nephew's dance troupe had a recital there.
Oh, wow.
It was a long time. Yeah. I just have no deep connection to that school because of my experiences there. And I don't really feel that it laid the path for my career and where I'm at now.
Right.
I was going to ask, since you mentioned it, about your brother. Do you think that your brother dying hurt your relationship with God?
100%. Because he didn't deserve the hand that he was dealt. So, basic backstory there, I had a brother who was 2 years older than me. And when he was 13 months old, he was in a car that was struck by a drunk driver. And he was in a car with my mother, my grandparents, and my aunt. So, being 13 months old in 1977, there's no such thing as car seats for children. So, with the impact, he was flown from the lap that he was on, hit the windshields, and when emergency services found him, he was wedged between the front door and the seat. So he was wedged between the seat and the door. So he became handicapped as a result of the accident, severe brain damage. And I was born about 10 or 11 months after the accident, 10 months maybe. And so the way he was after the accident is the brother that I knew. I never knew him before the accident, obviously. And even though he was disabled, I was still very close to him. Loved him. He was my safety place. Whenever I was scared, I would crawl into his bed and talk with him. He couldn't talk back, but I would just talk to him. And he was one of my favorite people. So when he was 12, my parents had managed to arrange to have him brought out to our family cabin. And Kati, you remember the cabin. You've been to it a few times. And
It's amazing.
I love it still to this day. But they brought him out in his wheelchair, and my mom had all of the machines and everything they needed for him. And at some point, he caught pneumonia. We don't know if he was sick before going out or what, but we had to bring him home and take him to the hospital, and he ended up passing away shortly after. So losing one of my favorite people when I was 10 years old and not fully understanding why, that was really hard. To believe that there is this being that is supposed to instill good and faith in people that could do such horrible things to a defenseless little baby, a defenseless little boy. Take him away from everybody that loves them. It's really hard to believe in a higher power that could be so cruel. And despite everything that's been told to me that God has a plan, he's needed elsewhere, I don't believe that. I don't believe that.
Still to this day, with
Yeah.
your belief then, and it's still the same now?
I don't know what I believe anymore. I'm not, well, I'm Catholic, but I don't feel religious. I am teaching my children to be good people without the church. They understand the premise of everything. I was married Orthodox. They were baptized. They had their baptism Orthodox, and we're not church-going people, and I'm okay with that. I don't believe in teaching them things I don't believe in myself. So that's where I'm at right now.
It's really easy for people to say whatever, even me, I can say whatever, but when you have a deep scar and a deep pain, that deep, yeah, it's nobody's job to convince you otherwise of what your beliefs are. It's that thing that you have to try and heal and work. It's part of your journey.
Yeah.
It's being
Oh,
able to disassociate religion from spirituality.
and yeah, and that's one thing that honestly I've been recognizing with listening to your podcast. You can still be spiritual without that religious element.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm trying to open up in myself right now because I don't feel like anything is lacking, but it comes down to the educational component, me dealing with my patients, getting education about that spiritual realm isn't going to hurt me. It may help me, but even if it doesn't help, it's still information that could apply to something else in my life.
For sure, definitely. It's funny because you're talking about information, which is a total Aquarian thing to do. Like you just had a birthday, right?
No, my birthday's in June. I'm Cancer.
You're Cancer. Oh, I don't know. I thought you were a January baby. Apparently nothing.
I was gonna
I
say,
swear we're friends. We know each other.
Right? I mean, but Cancer energy, I love Cancers because they have that hard exterior, then they go inward to do so. That's the quiet part of you, right? That you quiet when you're out. But
Yeah.
Cancers are one of the hardest to get to know in all the zodiac.
I was just gonna say one more thing about your brother, and I got this feeling that he was sent to teach you about maybe a love that you don't understand, that you probably understand it more because of him now.
Possibly, I wouldn't know what it's like to have a relationship with a sibling without having him because now it's only me.
Right.
It's funny because when you and I first met, I remember thinking she's so lucky she doesn't have a sibling. And then when I learned, it was like, oh my God. But then even then, my own experience with my sibling was so awful. My relationship with him is awful. I don't know what it's like to have what you had with your brother. Like you had this amazing, beautiful gift, at least that kind of sibling love, where many of us don't.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair. I have had people make just off the cuff comments towards me about, oh, my sister is being such a bitch, or my brother's really pissing me off. And I just quietly think, well, these two have them. But I also understand toxic family members. And I completely respect that if there's strife that is affecting you emotionally and physically, it's not always worth holding on to that relationship. So whether they're a sibling, a cousin, an aunt, whoever they are, if they're not adding value to your life and if they're causing strife, it's okay to let them go too.
That's hard.
But I just wish I had more time with my
definitely.
brother.
Of
Yeah.
course.
It's always nice when you get to a point in your life where you can talk about it, though.
Hard sometimes. Like even now, I got this little knot right here because I still love him to death. And he's a part of my everyday in the way that my son's named after him. I've got pictures of him. Even at my work, my desk, I have a picture of him because he always brings me happiness when I think about him.
That's really nice.
Yeah, I never thought that I never thought that I'd get to a point where I could talk about my mom, because when my mom first died, it was just like the most painful thing ever.
Mhm.
And I joke sometimes with Emma. I'm like, there's something about Emma, our youngest daughter, that if she died, I don't even know if I could go on. That's how much I love her. And it's weird. And of course with Laura too. But with everybody, it's different. But there's something about Emma's soul. The world needs Emma.
I think that you have some kind of a soul connection with her, and there's a soul purpose there as well, like you had with your brother. It's a soul level connection.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's as a parent, you don't understand what that walk could feel like, right? I knew obviously that my parents loved my brother. And now that I'm a parent, I can't imagine the pain that they had because it wasn't just an initial loss. After the accident, they lost the toddler that they had. And then they cared so lovingly for him for 11 years with special medication. My mom had to learn how to use a suction machine, put in an NG tube to feed him. He was still in diapers. So it's doing that routine every day, having to have hydraulic lifts in the house, wheelchair. We had a lift in the front of our house, and just everything that they had to do on a day-to-day basis to care for him. And then losing him at 12 years old, my parents went through a hard time after that, and that's their story to tell, not me, not mine. But I couldn't imagine being a mom myself now, even though I've got two of them. If I lost one, I don't know if I'm strong enough to be here still for the other. I couldn't imagine.
That would be the hardest thing is you have to be able to fall apart. Your kids have to see that you're hurting. Right? If you don't fall apart, does that give them permission to fall apart fully ever in front of you, right? So they have to see the whole thing, but then you also have to still provide safety and stability and caring. So that's I can't imagine.
The years after he died, it was hard for all of us, 100%. And back in the 80s, it was not something, therapy was not something that you do. And I did a lot of suffering by myself. And even now to this day, if I'm going through something hard, my retreat is to literally go in my bedroom and just have the TV on to a show that's going to make me laugh, because that's what I did when I was 10 years old. And that's what gives me comfort. Not everybody's cup of tea, but it works for me.
What though? But that's self-soothing, and you have figured out how to self-soothe. And if that's still what you're doing now, you're in alignment with yourself. So that's all that matters.
I'm very much the same way. I'll throw on The Office and distract my brain. And even if it's something I've seen a million times, if it just lets you escape for a little bit, it's better than drinking until you're passed out. Or to me, that's a good way to soothe yourself, is with laughter and a little bit of distraction.
Yeah, Office is one of my go-to. Grubs is another one.
You know what's funny?
Got a lot of families.
I looked at your Instagram. I saw one of you're doing your skin all beautiful, and Brooklyn Nine-Nine was on the TV in the back. I'm like, that is amazing.
That show much.
It's such a good show.
So good.
If I was super high, I could write that entire show. Every single, I feel like they took ideas out of my head and put it onto a screen, all the jokes. I technically wrote Brooklyn Nine-Nine. It's
You're a genius.
So good. And Doug Judy, those episodes, oh my God. My favorite. Yeah.
I feel like it's no coincidence that you ended up in a career where you're helping other people.
Think
You
so?
know, I just feel like everything your brother went through, all the compassion you have for somebody who needs extra support and help, and I feel like it's so perfect that you ended up doing what you're doing.
And what, it wasn't my path either. It's something that kind of happened for me, and I definitely love it. Don't get me wrong, but it wasn't what I initially wanted to do. And I can't imagine doing anything else right now, honestly.
It's funny because when you're little, everyone asks, what do you want to be when you grow up? I'm like working with that right now. She's like, I have no idea. I'm like, stop right there. You don't have to know, because like you said, it just happens. You know,
Sometimes, yeah.
just go out and get the experience. Just go live, and whatever you love doing, have at her.
Yeah, I wanted to be a doctor for the longest time and to be a pediatrician. But then when I started university and I realized how hard shit is, I knew I didn't have a doctor brain. It took a while to realize that. Yeah. And then I struggled because I didn't want to stay in sciences. Well, something similar to sciences, but not doing the chemistry and the physics, and it wasn't me. But I learned about athletic therapy. Never heard of it before. Got into the program that was super small. There weren't many people that were in it. They didn't really have a really stringent application process. I just basically talked to the leading professor and, hey, so would this be good for me? And try to figure that out. And I just started it thinking he worked. And I ended up loving it. Sorry, I'm getting issues with this. But it really was the best path for me. I met great people. The degree program was so fun. But then after I graduated, I realized I didn't want to be an athletic therapist.
Don't.
Sometimes that's the way. And I love the field. I love the education that I got, but how was I going to apply that? So I was working at a business that's a competitor to me now. And I figured I'm going to start massage therapy. I talked to the director who I actually knew through the university. And because of my degree, I could do massage therapy in 1 year as opposed to 2. So like 1 year, I'm in my 20s, let's go do it. And a few months into the program, I got a call from one of my old professors who's a sport medicine physician. And he said, hey, we're building this new sport medicine clinic in St. Patel. And do you want a job running the orthopedic side? So I went, sure. Because I wasn't loving stupid headphones.
It's your first time wearing ear pods. It's all good.
Sorry. What? My ears are really weird. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you.
Okay, good. No, my ears are weird. They don't stick in there. They always pop out when I'm talking because my jaw's moving. Anyway. So yeah, so it just kind of landed in my lap. And after meeting with him and a few of the other partners, it seemed like a great fit. I talked to my parents because I'd have to leave massage therapy now. And they're like, if it makes you happy, do it. Great. It literally just landed in my lap. It was perfect. And now I'm a partner out of our new location in Transcona, and I love it. I run both locations still, and it's great. But that's the thing. It was not part of the plan.
Right? I mean, the plan, right? You're
I know.
supposed to come up with the plan when you're 10 years old. I don't
You said
understand.
18. You might be a little closer, but to graduate from high school and to know what you want to do for the rest of your life, that's insane. I'm sorry.
It's insane the way they have the system set up where you have to commit, let's say, $50,000, $100,000, $200,000 and 4 years of your life. And then to come out the other end of that meat grinder and hope to God you still what you just trained for. And I feel bad. I looked at some statistics. I don't know if it's true, but there's a lot of dentists, a lot of lawyers, a lot of doctors out there that are like suicidal because they feel as though they are trapped in this thing that they've
Committed
to financially. Time to me, it's not even the financial commitment. It's the years and years of sacrifice.
So much.
And to come out the other end and maybe not quite want to do that anymore. And that's sad. That's hard, right?
Isn't that true? Like the dentists have the highest suicide rate.
Yeah.
I think I heard that somewhere. Don't quote me, but that's what I heard.
That's
Yeah.
because they've invested so much of themselves to get to that point.
But not only themselves, but monetarily. To become a doctorate of dentistry, it's hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's a lot of money, right? So then you have that obligation. Oh my God.
Yeah. Your parents are counting on you, right? Like, yeah, don't disappoint us.
Yeah.
Don't
I
feel that
couldn't,
pressure.
what? I see gnarly fingers for a living, but I couldn't look in people's mouths all day, every day.
Right. Yeah.
I couldn't do it.
That's not for everyone. I feel like we come to this experience to expand our souls. That's my big thing. I really think that I'm just here because my soul wants to expand in a certain way. So I've arrived here with a certain set of tools, right? And it takes a long time, especially in our distracted world, to connect with the tools. Where are my talents? Where are my gifts? What am I supposed to be doing? So I went to university for 5 years to get a bachelor degree of music. And it's like, well, I'm not using it. I got out of it and I'm like, okay, so they ruined music for me because it wasn't fun. It's a 4-year program that took me 5 because I'm academically not where the other students were. And I lived on the other side of Winnipeg. And I'm telling you, this commute is a big deal for me. Like, for me to be away from my home is a big deal. However, I go to the symphony now and I still cry every time I go because I think I could be up on there, like doing that. And I would feel so good doing it, but I chose a different path. So I'm just wondering, how many options do we have? And it's to choose your own adventure. And you're never choosing a wrong adventure, but some part of you still knows that I could have gone that way.
Absolutely. And having all that knowledge that you do, you appreciate the symphony on such a greater, deeper level than like if me, Joe Schmo, was to go and listen. Honestly, I love you, but going to the symphony is probably one of the things that I would much rather cut my foot off than have to do. No,
Oh God, okay, when you come to Calgary next time, come with me. I will make it something special for you.
Yeah, you
Well,
come,
you
you
know
drink a
what I
bunch of
remember?
wine, and then you go listen to music and have a nap. It's
Well,
amazing.
Kati was definitely influential with any type of music, I guess, experience I had when we were younger. I don't know if you remember the Phantom of the Opera.
My whole life as a child. I love it so much.
No, Alex, she made me memorize lyrics and then we would perform scenes in her bedroom.
Who was the Phantom?
Oh, probably me, because look how beautiful. With the beautiful long blonde hair. I'm like, yeah. I'm
It was a lot longer back then.
So you're Igor. Igor the Hunchback, right?
That's the only friend that at least exposed me to that.
Oh my God. And the real music people out there are like, what's Will? Phantom of the Opera. Okay, say what you will, but Andrew Lloyd Webber's a genius.
Oh, Dorian, I'm the same. I mean, I'm listening to rap music and got all these tapes and I know all the pop culture. And then I meet this person and like, what is this? What are you listening to? Why can't you be like a normal human and listen to the crap that we're all listening to? This is the 90s, baby.
What's so funny is that Emma is really into music. Pop is like, and rap, and she loves it just like him. Now that we have Spotify, at the end of the year, they give you your rap or whatever to tell you like what you've listened to. They looked at my list, and it's seriously just a soundtrack from a video game, because that's all I listen to, because it's like orchestral, but it's calming, and I get to and oh my God, I'm the biggest geek on the planet.
And I'm over here listening to Metallica and Headstones, and that's my music. If I need to release some nervous energy or anger, it's Enter Sandman, it's Tweeter and the Monkey Man. That's my release of nervous energy music.
That's amazing.
Well, I think that you guys
It
should
works.
go to a karaoke night and sing some Phantom of the Opera together now.
No, I'm out of practice. It's been too long since
Yes.
Kati initially trained me. So, yeah.
As we were talking before about the university thing, I'm like, who decides to become a proctologist?
That's a specialty after you get into med school.
Yeah, but seriously.
And I guess
looking
once
at
you
assholes,
realize the
oh,
money that's into it, yeah, I think it has to do with the money. But again, if you're looking at that all day long, you've got to be compensated well.
Right.
Not my thing.
I don't want to sound sexist or anything, but I think that there's a lot of pressure and it's difficult for women, especially with the whole children thing, and to become a professional and still set aside time for your children and career. And it's difficult. The system that we're in is extremely difficult. I am hoping that it disappears. I'm hoping that there's more apprenticeships and things where if kids do know what they want to do, let's say that your kids want to do what you do. Let's say 10 or 12 years old, they just start shadowing you and learning. Like they'll do their little bit of school stuff, then they go to work with you and learn. And by the time that they're 16 to 18, they're probably ready to rock and roll in that job.
Yeah. And what I would love it, because then I could probably retire earlier than what I'm originally doing. If they could just take over my responsibility, I'll just perfect. Yeah. No. And yeah, like obviously you have an education behind that, right? I can't just hire anybody off the street because they need to know gross anatomy, mechanism of injury and all that. But it's something that I could teach, but I also know myself well enough that I can't. I am horrible at it. I am that person that's why don't you this? You should. The fact that you don't, I'm mad.
Yeah,
Like
you're
I just
stupid.
get
I think
It takes
homeschooling
so
was the
much.
worst experiment ever.
So it takes so much out of me that I have wonderful staff that I now designate to do that stuff, because I can become cranky if someone doesn't understand something, especially if I explain it a few times. I'm not good at that. I knew a teacher was not anything I was ever going to be.
Right. And
Yeah.
at least glad about yourself and that you can hire people to do the things that you don't want to do because it takes too much energy.
Even in my Ukrainian dancing days, people asked if I ever wanted to teach or choreograph. And I'm like, hell no, not interested whatsoever. No. Can't do it.
I'm with you on that. It's something about breaking down the steps and then creating a process. And I'm like, no.
No, I can do it. Just don't expect me to teach it.
Right.
I think we all have different gifts, right? It's not like you take Michael Jordan. He's the greatest basketball player ever. Would he be a great coach? Probably not.
Probably. I don't know what he does in his free time.
He was a terrible owner. So it's,
Oh,
what do they say? Those that can't do, teach? Something like
yeah,
that.
I think it's horrible.
You're learning
If
from...
you can't do it, you shouldn't be teaching up.
Exactly.
But I do feel that, I guess, and again, you'd have to ask my staff this, but as a manager, I like to think I do a good job, like leading others, keeping my stores running. I think I'm pretty decent at that. I know I'm not the best. I know I could be better, but I think I do an okay job at that. But
I can imagine you do an excellent job of it.
that's very sweet of you, my dear.
I'm excited to get to the question that you have to ask Dorian.
Kidoki.
Oh, I know about that.
Right? Because you listen to the show.
Listen.
So somebody did drop. So here's the thing. Somebody did drop a question, and usually it's been intuitively pretty good. But the person
I'm going to break that streak.
Well, the person who was supposed to get it didn't show up because they were sick. So technically, the universe is Dorian's getting this question now. So here we go. What is the biggest conspiracy that you believe?
This makes my heart so happy as you think, because
Ellen, I am the worst. I don't believe conspiracies.
you don't believe in any conspiracies at all.
I don't. So,
Really? Let me name a few for you, and then I'll jog your memory. JFK.
hey, John. What about him?
What do you mean, what about him? You think
What-
Harvey
what-
Buffalo
what-
shot him with the magic bullet?
Put a lot of thought into that.
I'm the
That's
same
what
way.
go.
I'm like,
Why would I think about
All
that?
right, I'll give you
I
the
haven't
big
seen
one.
what? Give me the evidence that proves one way or another. I'm an evidence-based person, right? And that's because of my science background.
I think Trump just declassified that stuff, so I will get that for you.
Okay, I'm good.
right?
9/11.
Okay.
What do you think about 9/11? Inside job, or a bunch of goofy terrorists from Afghanistan blew up a bunch of planes?
Okay, when you put it like that, how is she supposed to choose?
That's true. That's not fair. That's not fair.
I remember the incident. I remember learning everything that the news outlets had put out there. Again, if it was potentially an inside job, show me the proof.
Oh, okay.
It's out there, but I think the better way. What did it feel like to you? Did it feel scary because of the terrorists flying the planes, or did it feel scary that America could potentially hurt themselves the way they did?
Honestly, it's scary on all levels. Like you, Kati, I am very introverted, but I am extroverted with the right people. So when it comes to my internal thoughts about these things, it's hard because I don't even know what to say to this, because I go based on what I feel is true information. And I know, Alex, you're saying, what's true, right? And all of this.
Okay. No,
But
this is your
again,
question, not mine.
also, being a Canadian looking on this, I do see it as a potential threat of our security as well. Right. And it's a horrible thing that happened. The fact that so many thousands of people died, it's a sad thing to have happened. Do I know the root cause of it? No. Am I going to lose sleep over it? Probably not. I did when it first happened because there were so many unknowns.
Right.
But I guess the information that was brought out to the public, what you're saying about the terrorists or whatnot, if it was isolated to be directed directly to America, then it's horrible. It's horrible all the way around. And it's
Okay.
hard for me to honestly give you an answer on that.
No problem, because I
Yeah.
actually do like your answer.
Me too.
It shows me a lot that you are protecting your heart and you are protecting your reality.
And sense of safety.
Yeah, because if you knew half the things that I have come to put together through a lot of searching and digging, you might not like what you find.
And
I
that's the
to-
thing.
yeah,
I know
ignorance
that
is bliss
my,
for a reason.
100%. And just my own, what am I trying to say? This is perimenopause. You just can't think of it's hard. But I guess when it comes to my own mental health, I can't know that. I know I can't handle it. I get it's the overwhelming amount of information. Like even now with this whole thing with the tariffs on Canada, we're watching CNN constantly, and I'm looking on threads, I'm looking on Instagram, I'm looking at all the things just to get as much information as possible. And I'll get to a point where I'm going to become overloaded and I got to shut it down. Got to literally put up the wall.
I do love the trend, though, that even regular, like I call it normies, like normal people, I think are starting to realize that they need to turn the news off. That it is it is so negative and poisonous that trying to program you into a reality that you probably don't even need or want.
Yeah, 100%. And I will get to the point. Like right now, I'm right into it. Like right now, CNN is playing, but it's quiet, it's muted. But again, we're right into it right now. And then I'll get to a point where it's too much. I'll feel the overwhelm and I'll have to shut it down. And that's kind of what happens with all these events, like what you explained. But I just feel like I'm one little person, right? I'm on my own little island, and I just open up to what I'm willing to accept. I'm willing to take on. So when it comes to like the question, the conspiracy theories, I can't give an answer.
It's really sad. Like I've been thinking about like us when we were kids in the 80s, biking around, drinking from garden hoses. We had probably the most carefree childhood. And then we'd learn about like World War II, Hitler, and these things are like, oh, thank God that's all in the past, right? And then I look back at our last, like, let's say 30 years. I watched 9/11. That's a traumatic thing. I watched them bombing Baghdad in retaliation. That was a traumatic thing to watch these things. I watched the stupid Rodney King beating. That was traumatic. I watched the LA riots. That was traumatic. And it's like all these things that shouldn't have happened, they forced us to watch them. And we should have been better than that. We should have been that generation that got to enjoy no wars. Really, there should have been no wars on our clock, because we should have known from history. Like Vietnam, there's no winners.
I don't think there's winners ever.
There's no winner ever.
No,
Yeah,
there's no winner. Well, and look at Ukraine, like almost 3 years now into it. And I've got, luckily, no family members there anymore, but I've got friends that have immediate family, parents, cousins that have had to flee. And it's so scary.
Yeah, I'm married to a conspiracy theorist. So as soon as the conspiracies come out about the Ukraine war, I'm like, whoa, let's scale it right back down and think about the people who are suffering there. This is political garbage I'm not interested in. I don't care.
Wait a minute.
But there are regular people.
Wait. I am always saying on my other podcasts how innocent people are always the victims. Innocent people are always the ones being killed. This war, Russia and Ukraine, this is all design. It's all on purpose. And it's disgusting. Like once you actually see it for what it is, it's innocent people being murdered on both sides for absolutely no reason.
Yeah, I'm not saying you're pro-war. What I'm saying is that you come with all this information, but there's only so much I can take on because I'm not there. That's not my experience. My only job is to protect my peace so that anybody who interacts with me is taking peace on themselves.
And that's perfect, Kati. That's exactly what I do. I have to protect my peace.
Right?
I've had a lot of turmoil in my life.
Yep.
And whatever peace I have now, I have to protect it. Otherwise, I'm not going to be the mom to my children that they need. I'm not going to be the friend that my friends need. So I really try to learn as much as I can to be aware, but then I have to shut it down.
We were talking about this too in the car the other day about how when we were kids, we'd be happily playing with our toys in the living room. And then all of a sudden this commercial of Africa would come on with all these kids covered in flies and they're starving and they'd play the music. And you're like, what the hell? Do we have to like save them? Do we have to give them our money? Like it was kind of the start of, I didn't need to see that. Like what benefit did I have of watching these poor children other than made me grateful for my life? More so.
I'm all for helping where help, but again, yes, when it's that information that is being shoved down your throats, I understand why it's being done, but all I can think of, all the money spent on those commercials could probably help those children a lot more than the commercial.
You nailed it.
Great take. I never thought of that.
We all know how expensive everything is these days. And to which organizations we support, we're very particular about that because I don't want my money to go on marketing or, right, that too. Or I get this envelope from God knows what organization that has mittens or pens or whatnot that I didn't ask for, but now they want a donation in return. Like, I don't like that. That's shady business, in my opinion. So I'll never contribute to those organizations.
Right. Well, so what's your question for the next person?
Oh, that's a good question.
It's always
what? Well, we were just talking about protecting our peace. How does your next guest protect their peace? What do they do in their lives that protect them emotionally, physically, whatever it is that is peaceful to them, that brings them back to homeostasis? What is that for them?
I love that question. It's a great question. See? Divine.
Yeah, but we'll see if it's appropriate for the next guest. But I'm sure everybody has peace they have to protect. So,
right? That's a basic human question.
Oh, maybe
yeah,
they don't.
that is the basic.
Maybe they don't protect their peace, and that's something that they need to start incorporating.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's super important.
All right. Fabulous.
Good job. Good writing.
Thanks.
Man, you did great. Have you ever been on a podcast before?
Never. Who wants to listen to me?
What are you talking about? I thought you did great. You almost made me cry like twice.
Right?
Come on.
I had to break out the proctology jokes.
You said so many profound things that there is people out there who would be like, I resonate. And it validates their own suffering. So
I am normal Joe Schmo. There's nothing too extraordinary here.
Same.
You know what? I've met some pretty like famous-y people, and they're no better than any of us. That's the thing that I've really come to notice. The more excited about this like high-level author or whoever I'm meeting, the more disappointed I am. Actually, it's actually quite sad. Yeah,
maybe it's just because you have low expectations of me.
No,
so now you believe.
I honestly think that, like, for you have no agenda. You're not pre-programmed. So many of these people, they go on so many shows that they almost lose the human. And they just go into like presenter mode and they're just kind of automatic. Or maybe they're protecting like who they are. They just have the persona.
Oh, of course there's always the persona. Everybody has to have that persona. I've even told at my job, you have a great customer service voice. I don't know what that means. But like, is that my work persona?
Do you have an Indian accent?
What?
Work?
That's a terrible customer service joke. Well, we've just lost a bunch of followers.
All of them from India. Sorry, guys.
Good Lord.
No. Maybe just with doing the same job for 22 years. Who knows?
Maybe it's because you've been classically trained in Phantom of the Opera that you can like.
Oh, yeah. See, that's the exact reason why. See, now we've narrowed it down. And that's what I'm going to tell my next patient that told me that. I'm useful. 30 years when my friend Kati and I were in her bedroom and she was teaching me Phantom of the Opera.
It's amazing that we're still friends. Thank you.
And
And now these
Another-
men on TikTok lip syncing Phantom of the
oh,
Opera.
don't even get me started with that. But Alec, this is one thing, another core memory of Kati's that I wanted to share with you. When we had lunchtime at St. Mary's, we had an amazing cafeteria. We had different food every day. Do you remember those cookies? Like we would rob money just so that we could have those cookies every day. But Kati would always go to the vending machine and get a bag of salt and vinegar chips. But she didn't eat them like a normal person.
Nope.
What she would do, she would lick all the, and then she would eat them. But that's how she did it, literally every single day. And why that is a core memory for me about you, I think it's hilarious.
And because my daughter licks her chips nut.
Go after it. Oh, and would just sit there and just lick the, and then she would turn it around and
Yes, that's true.
It made the experience last longer.
It still happens to this day. If there's Doritos, forget about it.
well, back then it was salt and vinegar.
Yes, and then I threw it up one time at a sleepover. Never again. That was the end of that.
Oh, well, yeah, it's just like me when I was 19 and I got so drunk off whiskey, I can't even smell it to this day. It makes me sick. Yeah.
That's like me, Ryan Coke. I can't do Ryan Coke. I had a.
That's what I was drinking. It was Polkorama.
Right?
So
I mean,
you go pavilion hopping and you have multiple beverages because you have to have a beverage when you get to the pavilion. And back then I was a Ryan Coke person.
yeah,
Never again.
It was my social drink, right? Going to a social was always Ryan Diet. You went out west and what everyone's like, whoa, what's a social? I'm like,
I know.
so crazy.
Right?
I
And
love
such a needed and like obligatory event. Anybody that's getting married or any fundraiser, what do? You have a social. And yeah, you go outside those Manitoba borders and everyone's like, what?
Well, you need to explain to people what the best aspects of a Manitoba social are.
Oh
Educate,
my God.
Educate everyone.
So you sell tickets to go to a party basically that has a silent auction. So you have the potential to win prizes. You have a bar where you can get your drink. You have a DJ that's playing that amazing music. And then it's the social aspect, which is like called a social.
Nice.
And the goal was to raise money. And it was a party that you would go to when people were getting married, fundraising for their 14 or whatever it is. It was just a party you get to go to. Our wedding social was amazing, by the way. And we had a Kolomeka because tons of Ukrainian dancers were there. It was fantastic. And it is one of those experiences that is part of our culture as Manitobans. And to not have one these days, it's like,
Right.
you know,
they're amazing.
Yeah.
So
so fun.
Missed my favorite part of the social though.
What, salami shoulders?
Yes. I need to have the pickles and the salami and the cheese.
Night lunch. The
Nice.
night lunches, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Heated as per the liquor license, but also it was those staples, the coup bread, the butter, the mustard, the salami, the ham, the pickles.
Yes.
Absolutely.
There is
Yeah.
nothing better than that being rolled out at midnight.
Have you been drinking all night?
You've been drinking
Absolutely.
and dancing.
The only bad thing about the socials is them shutting down at 1 because it started to get really good.
Oh, of course, because everyone was hammered.
Yeah.
Everyone just was letting loose.
If they could
Yeah.
make those go till 3 a.m., forget it. It would be like better than Vegas. I would recommend people go to Manitoba over Vegas if the social can go to 3 a.m.
I know that won't happen though.
No.
No, the community centers can't handle that. No, well, thank you
Wanted
so
to
much
say-
for having me, guys. Oh,
Thank you
so
so much.
fun.
It was a lot of
You
fun.
made it easy.
Oh, well.
You did.
Of course, we're professionals.
Well,
Friends talking, right?
yeah.
That's what I kept telling myself. We're just friends that are going to be talking.
And that's exactly how it was.
And we didn't even rake you over the coals too hard. But that's when we get you on part 2, and then we just
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I can just go.
Right? Yeah,
Nice.
All right. Well, love you guys.
We'll see you next time, everybody.
See you.
That's a wrap on this episode of the Paired Genius podcast. Real talk, real life, and a little bit of genius. We appreciate you spending your time with us, and we hope today's conversation sparks something meaningful for you. If you've enjoyed the episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Stay curious, stay bold, and keep leveling up. Until next time, keep living your genius.